Welcome to all my dear Bhaiya Bahan. Today we are again going to start our class, and today again we are going to start our fourth poem of the book Flamingo. Before starting the poem, I would like to ask you some questions related to that poem. The first question goes to you. How many boys and girls have seen natural beauty? Very good. Most of them have seen. What do you see the difference between natural beauty and artificial beauty? Yes, very good. Natural beauty is permanent. Artificial beauty is temporary. Natural beauty changes, but artificial beauty will die a day. Next question. Can you say what is the source of joy for us in nature? Very good. Natural beauty. Can you say some natural beauties you have seen in nature? Okay, you have seen so many things. Very good. Like trees, young trees, old trees, flowers, or you can say shade of the tree. You can say bushes in the forest. There are so many natural beauties which gives us joy. My dear, can you say which poem we are going to read today? Yes, very nice. A Thing of Beauty. My dear, A Thing of Beauty, the poem has been composed by John Keats. You can see the picture of John Keats here. Yes, my dear. Now something about John Keats. John Keats was born on 31st October 1795 at Moorgate, London, England. He was an English romantic poet. He was one of the main figures of the second generation of romantic poets, along with Lord Byron and Percy Bysshe Shelley. Despite his works having been in publication for only 4 years before his death from tuberculosis at the age of 25. John Keats was a romantic poet. John Keats was a 19th century poet and in English literature, 19th century is known as Romantic Age. What is Romantic Age here? The poet who writes about nature, the poet who writes about the beauty of nature, those poets are called romantic poet. My dear, John Keats was the poet of 19th century. He was born on 31st October 1795 and he died on 23rd February 1821. When he died, his age was simply 25. He died in Rome, Papal States. You can see here his biography. when he was born, when he was died. His cause of death you can see here, tuberculosis. Occupation, he was simply a poet. He got education in King's College, London, and he had a brother. His name was George Keats. It is a short biography of John Keats, and in the poem you can see John Keats was a British romantic poet. Yes, you see in the poem A Thing of Beauty about John Keats. Although trained to be a surgeon, Keats decided to devote himself wholly to poetry. Keats' secret, his power to sway and delight the readers, lies primarily in his gift for perceiving the world and living his moods and aspirations in terms of language. The following is an excerpt from his poem Endymion, a poetic romance. This poem, A Thing of Beauty, is taken from John Keats' epic poem Endymion. This poem is a poetic romance. The poem is based on a Greek legend in which Endymion, a beautiful young shepherd and poet who lived on Mount Latmos, had a vision of Cynthia, the moon goddess. The enchanted youth resolved to seek her out and so wandered away through the forest and down under the sea. My dear, here you have seen about John Keats, and we are very sorry to know that he died in the very early age of his life. It was only 25. He was a romantic poet, and he was a great poet. We can't forget John Keats in our life. Now, we are going to read the summary of this poem. At first, we should know the summary of this poem. What does the poet want to say through this poem? A Thing of Beauty is a poem taken from the poem titled Endymion, a poetic romance, written by the famous poet John Keats. The poet says that a beautiful thing is a source of endless joy. It has eternal beauty which never fades away. A beautiful thing is like a shady shelter which gives us a sleep full of sweet dreams, good health, and relaxation. Our attachments to the earthly things are like a flowery wreath. They are traps which bind us to the materialistic things and keeps us away from eternal happiness. The earth is full of hatred, greed, and negativity. According to the poet, the gloom and sadness caused by this negativity fades away with the positive things of the beautiful things that surround us. The poet lists out some of the beautiful things that surround us. As the saying goes, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. He says that the numerous creations of God, like the sun, which gives us energy, the moon's beauty, the trees which give us shade, are the natural beauties around us. The various animals, like the sheep, that surround us make our world lively. The pretty flowers, like daffodils, make the world green and lively. The flowing streams of water cool and refresh us in the hot summer season. The forests, which are full of the pretty musk rose flowers, are a beautiful sight to the eye. All these are the things of beauty. Also, the stories of the brave soldiers who laid their lives to protect their people are beautiful and inspiring. These beautiful things are like a fountain of immortality bestowed upon us by God. They inspire us to live on and maintain our faith in goodness. Thus, we have seen the summary of this poem. In this poem, the poet has told a thing of beauty is a constant source of joy. What kind of beauty the poet is talking about? The beauty of nature, not the beauty of human beings. The beauty of nature is permanent, but the beauty of human beings is not permanent. Our beauty will die a day. Beauty dies with the passage of time, but quality never dies. Nature never dies. Nature is permanent. Some changes take place in it. Now, we should start this poem. I would like to start this poem and you will recite with me. I will break it in stanzas. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. In this stanza, the poet says, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its beauty always goes on increasing. It will never be reduced to nothingness. A thing of beauty provides a pleasant shelter, a place in the shade under a tree for us. It provides us a sound sleep. It is full of sweet dreams and quiet and effortless breathing. In this stanza, the poet has used the figure of speech, that is alliteration. Use of consonant sound at the start of two words which are close in series, sleep, sweet, so that there is alliteration. Next is metaphor. Bower quiet means calmness of the bower is compared to the calming effect of a beautiful thing. In this stanza, there is rhyme scheme A, B, C. You can write in the lines of the poem, its rhyme scheme is A, B, C. Now write the meanings of words. First word is forever, means always. Loveliness means beauty. Pass into, turn into. Nothingness, a thing of no value. bower, a pleasant place. In the shade under a tree, quite silent. Now see the second stanza. Therefore, on every morrow are we reading a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence of the inhuman dearth of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over darkened ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. In this stanza, the poet says that every next day we are weaving a flowery wreath to bind us to the earth. There is disappointment and dejection all around. Very few have a noble heart. Sad days, evil and unhealthy ways dominate our lives. In spite of all these things, some beautiful thing removes the cover of sad feelings from our hearts. The beauty of natural objects takes away the gloom from our sad hearts. In this stanza, the poet has used some literary devices like anaphora, use of same word in two consecutive lines, of noble natures of all the unhealthy. Second poetic device is alliteration, use of consonant sound at the start of two words which are close in series, band, bind. Noble natures, some shape. Third poetic device is metaphor, wreathing a flowery band. Here, the beautiful things of our life bind us to the earth. Next poetic device is imagery. Imagery means image of some things, creating a sensory effect of beautiful things lined up in a string, that is a flowery band to bind us. This is image of flower. Now you write the meanings of this stanza. Morrow. Morrow means morning or next day. Wreathing means weaving into a wreath. Band, a narrow strip. Bind means attach. Spite means malice. Noble means great, good. Natures means qualities. Gloomy means sad. Unhealthy means not healthy. Darkened means evil. Searching means looking for. In spite of all means in spite of everything. Shape means form. Moves away means removes. Pall means covering. Dark, sad, spirits, inner souls. In this stanza, we have seen we have the lack of noble natures. We live a sad days. We live an unhealthy life. But among all these things, there is one thing which covers all ugly things, that is the beauty of nature. It covers all ugly things of our sad spirits, that is beauty of nature. So my dear, we should protect the natural beauty. We should preserve nature, because nature gives us life. Nature gives us everything, whatever we have the need. So John Keats is focusing here to protect our natural beauty, because it is the only one source of joy. There is nothing on this earth except natural beauty. So my dear, we should protect such things. We have so many bad things. We have forgotten human values. We have forgotten every good natures. One thing is there which covers every bad thing, that is the shape of beauty. Now you see the third stanza. Such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a saddy boon for simple sip. And such are daffodils with the green world they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. The mid forest brake rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead, all lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us from a heaven's brink. In this stanza, we see all beautiful things of nature are a boon for humanity. Here, boon means blessing for humanity. Those beautiful things are the sun, the moon, old and young trees provide a shady shelter for us. It is a boon for simple sip. Daffodil flowers are blooming among the green surroundings. Small streams with transparent water make a cooling shelter of thickets. Thickets means bushes. They protect themselves from the hot season. Brakes are growing in the middle of the forest. Here brakes means thicket, or you can say bushes. They have been made more beautiful and grand by a sprinkling of blooming musk roses. This magnificence and beauty surpasses grandeur of the dooms that we have imagined for our mighty dead forefathers. This beauty excels any other, as we have heard or read in our lively tales. The beauty of nature sprouts from a heavenly fountain. It pours into our hearts heavenly bliss of nature, which is like immortal nectar. My dear, in this stanza, the poet has used figure of speech that is alliteration. Here alliteration is sprouting shady, simple sheep, cooling covert. Imagery, here imagery is trees giving shade, growing process of daffodils, clean river streams. Another figure of speech is antithesis, means opposite words placed together, old and young. Here the poet further carries on with the description of the more beautiful things present on earth, such as the beautiful musk roses which have such a nice fragrance. Then he describes the tales of the mighty warriors who laid their lives for their countries or for humanity. He says that these beautiful things are the gifts from God for all of us. They are like a nectar given by God to us, and these are those beauties which are immortal and give us a reason to live on this earth despite having so many sorrows in our life. Now, you write difficult words from this stanza. Sprouting means producing, developing. Boon means blessing. Daffodils means daffodil flowers. Green world means world of green plants and trees. Clear means transparent. Rills means small streams. Covert, shelter of bushes. Mid means in the middle. Break means thicket. Rich means grand. Sprinkling means scattered. Fair means beautiful. Musk rose means a kind of rose. Blooms means flowering. Grandeur means magnificence. Dooms, on the doomsday, or you can say last day of existence. Mighty means powerful. Dead means dead persons. Tales means stories. Immortal means that lives forever and never dies. Pouring unto means give. Heavens means paradise. Brink means corner. My dear, in this poem the poet has mentioned some beautiful things. Which are these beautiful things? Number one is the sun, the moon, shady trees, beautiful daffodil flowers, streams of water, dense green bushes of forest, ferns where fragrant musk roses grow, tales of heroic men who sacrifice their lives. And the poet has also given the list of things that cause suffering and pain. The cause of suffering and pain first is desire to offend others. Second is hopelessness. Third is lack of noble man. Next is bad health, unhappiness, gloom, and darkness. These are the list of bad things. And I have also given you the list of beautiful things. So, my dear, in this poem, the poet has presented the beauty of nature very well. What are the good things in nature? What are the bad things in nature? What should we do every day to connect ourselves with nature? How can we live healthy? What is a bore? So many things the poet has given to us through this poem. We must try to focus on these things. We must control over bad things and we must increase our good things. So, my dear, your homework is prepare question answer from stanzas, and next day you will submit your copy in the class. Till then, thank you. Have a nice day.